think we all expected that, with AI assisted coding, that we'll be able to produce more code, that we'll be able to code faster, right? But what's interesting that you're touching upon here is that, development teams have also become more collaborative. Their work, their operations have become easier. Maybe walk us through a bit more detail, from what you've seen. Maybe take a few examples from GitHub Copilot customers. How does Copilot help teams become more collaborative and help their operations become smoother?
Yeah. So, it's probably not in the way that you think. When we started this, we kind of did a couple of research studies, and one of them we asked engineers that work in a company climate, what's the number of engineers that work with you on a given project? And we found that on average, 21 engineers work on a single project at any given time. And so that's a lot of people that you either want to get review from or have to get review from before you can actually deploy something. And so what we started to kind of realize is that when you're getting so much of the sort of, syntax and semantics figured out for you, you have way more time to focus on the problem and the architecture and starting at the beginning and saying, okay, well, how should we structure this versus needing to kind of paint your way to that. You can start with a framework, and that's a moment to collaborate. That wasn't always there before, because in a lot of times, if you're a senior dev or a staff engineer, you might be like, all right, go start with this library in this class, get going, and I'll review it. Well, if Copilot can do the get going for you, then it's actually more important that you're clear up front and you have to talk through that creative step way more, And I think on the pull request side, why we see pull requests being so much faster is that there's less review on the small syntactical things that, come up, like this variable is not well named, or have you considered using this method or not? Because while you're working, Copilot can use your company's sort of standards to do that. Or you can ask a question to GitHub Copilot chat, right? And say, hey, is there a better method than gsub here? Yes, you can use split, for example. And so when you're actually reviewing the code, you're reviewing the architecture, the implementation, the intention behind the change. And our most senior and staff folks are helping teach and imbue that into the code base and other engineers, instead of spending 50% of things for 50% of time on things that the linters, didn't catch. And so, I really think as we move forward with AI and generative AI and code, we're going to see more and more and more of the focus on what should the system look like? How should it operate? And do a little bit less of, I'm going to find my way there. And then when I get there, I'll plant a flag in the ground and say, here I am, and actually start way more upfront with that process, because that's what we all know with AI, whether we use ChatGPT or some other tool. The question you ask, the problem you pose is currently the most important thing. And with GitHub Copilot or CodeGen, it's kind of no different. You have to know where you want to go and how you want to get there to be most efficient. And those are the conversations that I think devs, speaking for myself, I love to have anyway. I'd rather talk about, what we're trying to do and what trade-offs we want to make way more than, hey, should we be using camel case here, or this nested class syntax doesn't make any sense. That's something I'd rather, the tool just to help me do automatically.